What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. Getting to commentate and watch the Houston Regionals was freaking amazing, and getting that insight on the ground into players, what they would do different, what they regret in their decks, how they would change things, that player brain look into those kind of next level things for the YCSs coming up. It's great to hear. Texas Duelists definitely still have it, and that does play into today's Market Watch. But first, let's break down some classic market manipulation. MBT1 locals, it must be that. Well, if you look at the graph on Destiny Hero Plasma here, it's still selling for around $12 to $13, maybe worth $20 for it being out of a collector tin. But when the secret rare sold 2 for $500 here and 2 for $500 there, it bursted the graph up towards $50. It's not worth $50, let alone $500. It's still selling and listed for $12 to $13. And either two things happened. One, maybe a bit of an oopsie with mommy or daddy's credit card in a huge sale. Or two, somebody sold these to try to spike the graph, get attention, and get people stampeding to try to buy this out. I would think that it's the second one. So do be aware of things like that, and do the bare minimum of digging on the same page that you're on to find out why things have gone up, and that they're not necessarily deals left on the site when we're looking at these kinds of spikes. Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, the Ultra, the Secret, the Starlight, they're all up, and this was being played and branded, but now it's also being played in Labyrinth, it seems. And then you play multiple of them so that, you know, it doesn't get sniped out of the extra deck, so you have to go and buy another freaking one. The Secret Rare has doubled in price in just this month, from $14, $15 to $28-ish, and the Ultra Rare is actually the OG, even more at $40 right now. I like the look of the Secret more. They're both hard to get. You have the Secret being shorted actually in this year's tens, right? And then the Starlight, oh, this Battles of Legend, Brothers of Legend, I mean, has been thirsty for value. This has gone up a full $100 in the last 3 months, where it was like $222, and now the lowest is $330, and it actually has sales in this range. People going for max rarity for the flex if they're playing the deck. Imagine going for 2 of those on top of it, just so it doesn't get banished. Seriously though, this card backed with real back row is scary enough, but also it plays the role of being able to stop power cards from being the back row, like Harpy's Feather Duster or Lightning Storm. It basically works so well in combo with that, and we can go back to Subterror to see that old strategy, but with Labyrinth, it is putting in some work, it seems. Mathmech prices have been going up. It topped the Houston Regionals. There were a lot of them at the top tables, actually, and the secret rares are ridiculous in price for the people trying to avoid gold rares or low rarity. Seriously, like $30 versus the dollar. This has been a thing for a bit, but it is really showing up and out in the metagame. And this is one of those decks that also people can learn from Master Duel and then go into paper and actually see success with. So you do have a lot of different equations there for who might be in the market on them. For Hire did well at the Houston Regional. It bubbled the final round, 10-round regional, 566 duelists. It was actually at 600 towards cap, but some people didn't show up or play, etc. And a couple things here. Beat Bladesman for Hire actually has very few listings, so you might want to just get your sooner than later if you do have any interest in the deck. It did get updated, remember, in Darkwing Blast and actually get new cards. But I noticed also Raphael's Secret Rare is under the common. It quickly does go up past it, but the fact that the market price is so similar, just upgrade to the Secret for free. What are you all doing? It is a one-of in the deck for most people, so do be aware you're not like going ham on it, but it is so weird to me to see that comment ahead on this page. But yeah, if you want secret rares in general, they might end up going up throughout the format, because it with Runic is a very real option. It draws just infinite cards and is actually able to answer boards. Speaking of Runics, every single card in Runic feels like towards the top end that it's been going back up, and it has. When we look at just the easy access, the ultras, not the collectors here, they all have a similar graph of coming down over the last 3 months. And then I asked, well, with the ban list, might it be played more? What would it do? And people are like, no, versus cash, it doesn't seem that great, that sort of stuff. But now it's really finding its way into Naturia. Of course, there's Runic Sprite towards the top end, with Sprite also fighting in the metagame, and then stuff like for Hire. But it does fit in so many different decks, and you see just almost every graph go down, 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 and start to rebound here very recently. Down, 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 start to rebound also on the fusion, and then on fountain down, and then that slight rebound. All of them are starting to get that trending back up stabilization, so you might want to get yours sooner than later because they do all seem to be towards their low, but rebounding now if you have any interest in this engine. Of course, using that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying. But for the collector rares, they're spiking over this time period of the graph towards some of their recent highs for both tip and fountain. So people are really pouring in on the top end, highest rarity versions of these decks, and the ones you just need to access, period, also doing a slow up. It's starting to trend for this deck for sure, and it's rumbling in this metagame. Sprite's also kind of becoming the deck to beat, even though Kashtira just was. It took both of those finals at the YCS, people talking about, well, will it be the same in the US? They are performing in the top cuts at regional. Live Twin Sprite was one of the tops at Houston, and you see here, Gigantic Sprite just spiking up over time. If you even do the month graph, it's pretty much double, and then Sprite Sprint here is on a rally throughout this month, all the way up towards like $12 now, and yeah, we're hurting missing Elf if you're playing this deck, and Elf was being played in others, but this is a bit more specific, right? And then you have Sprite Starter really just cruising up and going pretty ham towards $15 for first edition, but you can still get some at $14. Sprite Blue, though, is pretty chill, and if every single other Sprite card is going up and you still need access to this card, I would think about getting it soon. And the ultimate rares at 50 versus the secret being 30, I would pay that extra premium for the ulti because it's likely to go down less overall percentage wise versus the secret, especially if a reprint or something was announced like, there is a Battles of Legend before the WCQ season. We've seen top decks reprinted in that. Pretty wild that we are seeing it back in place before the WCQ, but that's a possibility, not necessarily a reality. We saw it with Trickstar Reincarnation in the past, though. Points aside, the ulti is the more reprint-proof option, and maybe even banlist-proof option, versus the secret rare likely to fall out way greater if something happened. But I think both of these are likely to start going up if every other aspect of the deck is, and this was the star of the show that was selling way over double in price at one point, although once Tier Limit took over, it went down more than just ban list hits or whatever. So again, with Sprite Blue, I kind of like it right now, especially with the rest of the deck rallying. Now, what isn't rallying and is tanking, even though it's still seeing a massive number of tops, is Kashtira. Look at these graphs, just absolutely going down and becoming relatively affordable, thank gosh. $30 for Theosis, that's still a $90 playset. Unicorn down towards $10 is absolutely wild to me for the Searcher in the deck. And then Fenrir, which can be played in other decks, coming down under $40 towards $38, $39. All of it's just tanking. People don't necessarily want to be playing this deck. It's getting that vibe like, oh, you're like a Flunder player if you're doing this. Maybe that's the, dimension shifter or ease of playing the deck, but top players are still seeing massive success with it, taking regionals with it, first place at Houston, multiple tops, and I feel like it's not as much the deck to beat anymore as much as a deck within the metagame. Like, it's pretty much as hard to beat this as Sprite. Other decks are able to fight back, but it's grind game does feel on another level than most decks. It is a very interesting deck for how much it can do with one card as well, and those giant bodies on board, but yeah, it's all coming down in price despite the success, as it's not the deck, but a deck instead right now. You have Triple Tactics Talent being a huge card in this format. Every single version of this card is up, even though it's readily available in so many different quantities, from Mavens and the Megatins, and then the OG Secrets just mad up. And you're also starting to see like the Secret Pharaoh rare, that mid-max rarity come up. And when mid-max rarities are starting to shoot up, you know it's a card that is seeing a ton of play. So yeah, there's one here at 110 before they're like 125, 130, and just recently earlier this month, it was 106, 108. Not the card that's going to sell the most, especially in this rarity, but every single version of this card is up. Baroness over the weekend, the new collector rare out of Maze, has spiked really big, and now the lowest are around 230, 250. It's pretty much up there. And again, the problem with Baroness collector rare is you're only gonna see it in 1 out of every 4 cases about. You have 15 different collector rares, you've got 12 boxes in a case, and you're only seeing about 4 collector rares per case on average. So seeing this, gotta get through 4 cases on average. And yeah, she's the star of the show for sure in Maze. Visa Starfrost is up in price. Remember, there's an archetype coming out that's going to feature him, and people are getting excited and doing that. Well, I guess I should go ahead and get around to it if I'm playing it. And yeah, it is spiking up pretty heavily, even past the ultra rare sneak peek promo for the secret here at $22-ish. Purrely have their umpteenth buyout. The collector rare, once again, ridiculously shooting up towards 150 and almost on full buyout mode. This is likely a real contender. I would not discount it. Performed in the OCG, likely will do similar here, and it's a deck not to just sleep on, and you definitely should learn. Even the ultra rare is spiking back up here into the 30s, 31, and purely Pretty Memory is spiking up into the 30s. So full buyout mode once again on Purrely's for like the 4th time in 2 weeks. World Seas Atlantis is something we saw in a feature match, and I just wanted to look it up, and it is up there in price, a solid $8 card about right now. So just be aware this might be worth a little more money than you thought. You do some crazy waterlock stuff with Marincess, and also perhaps having access to goes, and this card is pretty wild for removal. So be aware, this is worth a little bit more than you might have thought. And finally, for past formats, I would assume may be played in some current format Dragon Link, but Dragon Ravine Secret Rare is huge up in price lately and is now back up towards $8. I feel like I just recently talked about penny stonkish on this even versus the super rare. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation. Sorry to run a bit long, but the regional definitely gives me so much perspective after I've been moving and pretty much only on Master Duel for a little while I moved, studying throughout the week on Dueling Book, then seeing it all in person, just next level, and getting to really tune in and get access to the minds of players. It was so amazing to be able to do that. Thanks for watching once again. I love getting to do this, like getting to talk, play, see Yu-Gi-Oh, this game I've always loved, and this format, something's kind of like revitalizing in me where I do think this format's a lot better than people initially gave it credit for. And as we get more diverse in here, yes, there's D-Shifter. Yes, there's going to be problem cards. There's always a problem card, though, in this community. It's so fun to get back in the swing of it and actually see how things are going. And even if I made fun of For Hire, like, more than pretty much any deck, well, yep, we're getting errors here out of memory. But seriously, when it comes down to it, I feel like there's just so much to this format more than a lot of people gave credit for at first. Thanks for watching.